One of the biggest misconceptions I've ever seen or heard so far is that you need a car to do Toro, or you need to save up and you need to buy a car and then you start doing Toro. So Toro is basically an application where you can rent your own car. Most people don't really know this exists as yet, but it's been around for like at least 10 or more years. Toro is like a company. They offer peer-to-peer car sharing and they allow people to make money from their car. People think that you need to own the car first, or you need to be able to like buy a car first, or you need to go take out some insane loans and then you get like a newer car, and then you basically just try to make money from it, and then you try to like pay your car note at the same time. That is probably one of the hardest thing you can do as a beginner or as somebody who is just trying to get deeper and deeper in business, right? So I can show you guys straight how easy it can be to like get started without owning a car, without buying a car, or even like having the money to go take out any car notes or anything like that, right? So let's go over this method that I've been just doing for at least 4 years now. So I've been 4 years deep inside this method, which is renting out other people's cars. So I've basically go over this method so many times. I've done so many iterations of just making sure this is a proven method. And if I never know other people who actually making like a lot of money doing the same method, then I wouldn't be so firm on it, right? And this is something that actually like changed my whole mindset when it comes on to business and concepts, right? So let's go over it right now. So this is you, a person with no car that's trying to do Toro, and this is your grandfather, Mr. Jenkins, or whatever you want to call him, right? You can leave from here with no car, not having any vehicle, not having just anything to put on the platform, to convincing Mr. Jenkins that you can make him money. Mr. Jenkins can be anybody. He actually can be a family member, it can be a friend, or it can just be somebody who just believes in whatever you're doing, right? What the process is to just convince him to now lend you his car or allow you to manage his car, and then you basically can make him money, right? A lot of people don't realize that things can be done, but it's just a conversation away. You need to be able to identify how and create a strategy on how you can make him money when it comes on to his car, because this is now something that he paid money for, so he's going to have emotional attachment to this asset, or right now it's a liability for him, but the whole conversation is trying to convince him to turn it into an asset, right? Say for instance you get him to say yes. You now need to create a contract, and if you create a contract between you and Mr. Jenkins, you basically can have an agreement happening right here. And then the main thing that you're going to do in a contract is go over like a split. So most people, they usually start with like a 70-30 split, where they basically take 30% and they give the vehicle owner, which would be Mr. Jenkins in this case, they would give him like the 70%, right? And the reason why you're giving him the 70% is because you want it to actually make sense for him. Because remember, it's not your car, it's not your vehicle. So you want this to make so much sense for him that it's like it's stupid if he says no to it, right? So the whole idea of this is to just make sure you can convince him that you can turn his sitting car into actual money, right? So the way how to convince your first person is actually going to be probably your hardest, and I promise you, after you get the first person, then it's going to be significantly easier after that, because you're going to see why. So after you come up with the split that you and Mr. Jenkins come up with, you list the car on Toro. So you list it on Toro, right? So you put the car itself on Toro, and then you come up with methods and strategy of how you're gonna handle like the cleaning, and how you're gonna handle like the delivery of dropping it off to customers, and how you're going to handle just maintaining the actual car if something should go wrong, or if something should happen on the trip of renting the car out for him, right? The most you can basically promise him is that you're going to make him money. You can't promise him that nothing is going to happen. You can't promise him that this is going to go smooth. But what you can do is he might ask you a question of, hey, like, how do I protect myself if like the car gets damaged? You can be like, oh no, Turo has an insurance, and then you can just use this insurance to cover your car. The only thing that this guy will need is just the enough insurance to legally have it on the road. Once you can convince him that this is a thing and you can make it actually work, you now have the ability to just list the car on Turo. So you do nothing else but you just list it on Turo. And once you list it on Turo, then you more than likely should just take great photos and just make the car look as presentable as possible so that you can attract customers to it, right? Guaranteed, your car probably should start getting bookings. And then as soon as you start getting bookings, you now can start utilizing the split that you have between yourself and Mr. Jenkins, right? The whole point of this is to show him that you are able to consistently make him money. So even if you want to, you can just tell him, hey, on the first trip, I can give you the entire thing. Tell him that you'll give him 100% of the first trip. And then on the second trip, the second time the car rents, then you guys start doing the 70-30 agreement that you guys have, where you take 30% and then you give him 70%. The main thing you want to do is to just make sure that the car is available for the customer every single time. So if you can create a system by making sure the car is maintained correctly, the car is just cleaned correctly, and then you can keep it going. What you can do now, you've now created a system of making money with your car. This is actually so cool because many people think that you just need to have a bunch of money so that you can like pay for a car. You need to have a bunch of connections. You need to have a bunch. You really don't. You just need to convince one person. And what's so crazy is after you get the first booking, you now able to have something that we call proof. And the proof is what you're going to use for your next investor. So the next person who will want to actually invest in you because they see what you're doing for Mr. Jenkins, and they see that you making Mr. Jenkins so much money. So you definitely want to just get all the data from when you've been renting Mr. Jenkins' car, and all the data, which is like all the trip fees, like all the money you've been making and how much money you actually made in a certain period of time. And what you can do now, you can attract your second person, right? So if you attract your second person and you convince this person, let's call her freaking Emily or something, right? So you basically tell Emily that, hey, look, like, see, I made Mr. Jenkins so much money. And if you can look at the data right here, Emily would most likely feel like, okay, this actually makes sense because I see you make so much money from Mr. Jenkins. So therefore, you're able to just continue scaling up, having more and more cars and having making more and more money every single time you you basically like convince another person, right? So every time you convince another person to give you a car, what you can do or what will happen is you'll basically be able to just now have all the data you need, and now you can like attract more people, you can make more money, and then you can actually have like a portfolio of these people's cars that you're just renting. Every single time you scale up, it will get more difficult because the more car you get, it will get more difficult. And the more you're going to have to start dealing with different people's emotions and different people's like style. And you're going to have to start adapting to what people actually want you to do. But what you have to do is you have to create a firm culture for how you run this business. Once you can come up with that firm culture, then you stop taking suggestions from people and you just start telling them, hey, this is how we run the business and this is what I can do for you, instead of just trying to come up with like different ways how to satisfy each person. So once you establish that you have a full-on business and you know are able to like prove the fact by showing that, okay, I made this guy money, I made that guy money, I made this guy money. Now you just need to scale and actively like just come up with like a, a structure and a system that continues to print, right? If you like this video, just let me know. I really hope that this video can actually show you that you don't need money to start. And if you really want to know anything more about Turo, you can just send me an email, or if you want to basically like understand what I do with my business. I mean, I run the same business. If you don't even know, I run the same exact business. And if you want to see what I do with my business, just send me a message, send me an email, and we can talk. And if you really want to plug your car in, then we actually can. So just send me a message. But I hope you guys like this video. I hope it actually showed you that it's just not that hard to just get started. And I'll see you in the next one.